because
So I
but that
think,
was the topic about
Chatterjee sir, there are 18 people who have joined now. So shall we start?
Yeah, Umne sir, your mic slightly audibility is a little bit.
Am I not audible? Am I not audible?
No,
you
no,
are
slightly better. No, slightly better.
you are
Okay, I think, shall we start, sir? Because
Please, please.
now it is 6 o'clock already, 6:05.
hmm.
So I welcome you all for the today's uh, invited talk uh, organized by Gondwana Geological Society. So, chief guest of the today's session and the speaker of the today's talk, Dr. Sudhir Shukla, he is with us. He is ex-chief general manager and head geology and unconventional resources, ONGC, Dehradun. Currently, he is working as an independent geoscience consultant in many organizations. We have also with us President of the Gondwana Geological Society, Dr. A.K. Chatterjee Sahab, uh, our friend Dr. Sandeep Roy, he is also with us. So I welcome you all. We have with us different large number of students. So I welcome all the students for this today's talk. So before we go into the details of this today's program, so I would like to invite and request our president, Dr. Chatterjee sir, to kindly speak few words on this session. Chatterjee sir.
Should I start, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Welcome or hearty welcome to Dr. Shukla sir, Sudhir Shukla sir, ex Chief General Manager and Head Geology and Unconventional Resources ONGC. So he is here to deliver a talk today on energy perspectives and relevance of geosciences, especially paleontology in aid of hydrocarbon and mineral exploration. So we hope to have a very good talk by him, and that will be engaging all of us in the very topical. This topic is of very great topical interest, and it is a very hot topic currently. So because our hydrocarbons and this oil import bills, I was reading as Shukla sir is from ONGC, may be very well aware. The import bill for 2019-20 was 92.7 billion US dollars.
Oh yes.
1 billion is 7,500 million, this crore rupees. No. And 2021 it was 63.5 because of the pandemic. It has reduced. But for 21-22 it is 113 billion dollars. So that is 847 1,500, 8,47,500 crore rupees. So this much of foreign exchange outgo, etc. It is really, so the topic is very very relevant, and this he's from the non-conventional energy department also of the ONGC. So I think we'll have a very good talk, Shukla Sahab, and Shukla Sahab, welcome to you again, and audience. We welcome all the members of the audience to have a very good interaction with Shukla Sahab. Shukla Sahab, kindly please.
Thank you very much, sir, Chatterjee sir. Thank you very much. Before I invite Shukla Sahab to deliver his talk, I would like to request Dr. Samia Humne, Treasurer, Gondwana Geological Society, to kindly introduce Shukla sir.
Good evening, respected Shukla sir, respected Chatterjee sir, respected Sarolka sir, Sandeep Roy sir, and everyone here. Uh, as you know that Dr. Sudhir Shukla sir, he is ex-Chief General Manager and Head Geology and Unconventional Resources. He is now presently an independent geosciences consultant to many organizations. He has completed his MSc Geology from University of Lucknow and PhD from IIT Roorkee. He is having vast working experience. He joined ONGC on 6th September 1980 as fresh graduate in the research and development at Institute of Petroleum Exploration, Dehradun, and having about 36 years of experience in upstream petroleum E&P, especially in the fields of multi-microfossils
Okay.
biostratigraphy, paleoenvironmental, paleogeography, geographic interpretation and integrated interpretation at different locations in India. He is having rich and varied experience in multidisciplinary hydrocarbon exploration as a team member and also as a team leader, covering almost all the aspects of exploration. He also headed as Paleontology Division, Geology, KDM Institute of Petroleum Exploration, ONGC, Dehradun. He guided biostratigraphic work and its application on ongoing exploration in Indian shallow and deep water areas, and also on high resolution biostratigraphy by evolving shallow benthic zonation in Assam Arakan Basin. He also worked on paleo-environmental analysis, paleobathymetric and paleogeographic interpretations at well and regional scale, and also on biochronostratigraphic inputs and data for utilizing in formulating geological modeling and refining sequence stratigraphy of respective basins. He, he has worked on integrated interpretation of 2D and 3D seismic wireline logs and geoscientific data, basin analysis and prospect generation, development and exploitation. As a team leader, he worked on shallow gas exploration in Cambe Basin, management operating committee member in gas exploration, in exploratory development and production joint venture. He was also head of the CGM UCRG and coordinated and guided domains of multi-microfossil biostratigraphy, sedimentology, remote sensing, and unconventional resources, shale gas and coal bed methane. He's having knowledge in dissipation. He's actually interested in dissipation of knowledge in industry academia interface in India and academic involvement in evaluation of contemporary research in IIT and other institutes, universities, and technical organizations. He is member of many academic institutions and scientific bodies, like he is member of Geological Society of India, Life Fellow of Association of Petroleum Geologists India, Life Fellow and Vice President of Paleontological Society of India, Life Fellow of Indian Association of Sedimentologists, and he is also member and presenter SCPM USA. He is also member in Center for Environmental Studies, New Delhi, and several other bodies. He has to his credit of mentoring and conducting trainings in several subjects and courses for the graduate trainees, students, researchers, and others. He organized workshop on application of biostratigraphy in exploration in ONGC, biostratigraphy for well site geologists, laboratory support in petroleum exploration, application of micropaleontology in hydrocarbon exploration, guiding and evaluating dissertation project PhD of ISM, PSI, universities and IIT researchers, and technological upgradation and management of biostratigraphic data by StrataWorks. Also, he has taken workshop on applied biostratigraphy in mineral and hydrocarbon exploration. He attended many national and international conferences and he chaired at the same time. Like he presented in conferences like SCPM, APG, Explotech, Geo India, SPG, ICMS, management meetings, etc. He, being the executive council member, have instituted a gold medal to outstanding researcher in the field of micropaleontology through Paleontological Society of India, Lucknow University, Lucknow. He has many research papers to his credit. He has published more than 50 technical research papers covering all scientific and industrial aspects in the upstream sector. Also, he has published monographs like Atlas of Taxonomic and Biochronostratigraphic Studies on Paleogene, larger benthic Foraminifera from Indian sedimentary basins in 2008, and also published one Atlas of Paleogene planktonic Foraminifera from the east coast basins of India, December 2017. So this is just a brief biodata. Many much more things are to his credit, but due to the short of time, I would like to sum up here. So welcome, sir. We like to hear you.
Thank you very much, Professor Samaya. Kundal sir has also joined. My wishes to you. Namaskar.
Sir, good evening. Good evening.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm also fine. Okay. So I think I would
Shukla
now.
sir, now I think you can start your presentation.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Professor Homne. Very good evening to all of you. And first of all, I must thank the Gondwana Geological Society, Nagpur, its President Dr. Chatterjee, Mr. Sandeep Roy, and of course Professor Sumed Humne, Professor Kundal, Professor Samaya, and all other distinguished people I'm seeing looking at the screen here to give me this opportunity to discuss something which is very current and which is very, as Dr. Chatterjee was also mentioning, that it's very hot nowadays too, because of the all the since the COVID started and then the Russian war started, Ukraine-Russian war. So a lot of problems on the energy sector, energy scenarios. So we will be discussing out a few things. What is the global energy scenario and what is the Indian scenario, and how best we can do contribute with the geoscience and especially the paleontology in this aspect. I'm thankful to all of you, my friends and colleagues, to have given this opportunity to speak on this topic. So now I'll share my presentation. Yes. Now, is it visible to all of you? Is it visible to all of you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
We
sir,
can
it
see.
is visible.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
So now I'll go ahead. Say today will be, as I said, that we'll be discussing out the energy perspectives and relevance of geoscience, especially the paleontology, in the aid of hydrocarbon and mineral exploration. So before I actually go to the presentation, I'll tell you one incident that in we every year we celebrate the International Fossil Day here also in India, in under the aegis of Paleontological Society of India, and in last IFD in 2021, there were some talks during the discussion, there were deliberations where it was said that whether geoscience or whether, I think more specifically paleontology, whether it is nowadays getting relevant or it is fading away. And the same thing is visible if you see, check in several webinars world over. And in my recent stay in America also, there are also a lot of scientists and institutions and big wigs. They are all having some sort of uh, mm, deliberations that whether the geoscience will be relevant and paleontology will be relevant in the way it was during last 20 years or 30 years in the present changing energy scenario. So that was one prompt which really asked me that I should talk something on the energy scenario and the role of paleontology and geosciences. So that's why this type of presentation. So in this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss some major issues, points related to the major issues, which include the macro energy scenario, which will have the key drivers, options, and futures of macro energy. Then Indian energy diaspora also will touch. We'll go to the salient points. Then we'll look at the oil and gas in India. What are the upstream sector, midstream sector, and downstream sectors? Then we'll come to the studying geosciences and paleontology. How relevant in the present context. And then geoscientific laboratories, interdependence in mineral and hydrocarbon exploration. This is one of the things which we were, when I was actively working with the ONGC Limited, as we used to work in tandem with a lot of all the different functional laboratories, and even we were working in very close association with the geochemistry as well as the logging laboratories also, wildline log laboratories. So there is a lot of interdependence between the laboratory functions when you go for the hydrocarbon exploration or go for the mineral exploration. Then ultimately paleontology and multi-microfossil biostratigraphy, which is still, in my opinion, is a very economical tool to hit this process of mineral and hydrocarbon exploration. I'll put some examples and I'll show that how it is still the very economical and useful tool. It's not irrelevant even now. So let's come to the first macro energy scenario. That's key drivers, options, and futures. So what are the before the we go to the macro energy scenario, I have put a disclaimer that the data incorporated herein and referred is very, I think, easily available on various public domain sources and keeps updating in terms of figures and contents. This is very important because whatever figures and contents or whatever values I'll be showing in this presentation, they are of course for the non-commercial and educative purpose only, but they keep on changing so fast that all of you must be really seeing that if you just take example of crude price fluctuation, even in one day and within 24 hours, it changes sometimes to such great extremities that it's very difficult to put any figure in your presentation in today's world. So anyway, the data and informations have been collected from few sources which are mentioned here, like say some of these are India Energy Outlook, World Energy Outlook 2020, then OPEC Oil Outlook 2040, Times of India. Then one of my friends from ONGC, Palakshi, he has given from some data on the parcel communication. Then Global Energy Statistical Book, DGH India Publications, Niti Aayog Reports of India, Ministry of Oil and Natural Gas and New Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and Government of India functionaries. Then reports of public reports and annual reports of ONGC, DGH, MOPNG, MOES, ExxonMobil, Statoil, of course their websites also, and other public informations and scientific informations. So I acknowledge all those areas, all those public domains for these things, some of the data which have been collected from there. If you go to the global scenario, we'll see that the three drivers, options, and futures, they include few points. The world population estimates they are around 9.5 billion by 2045 from the present 7.7 billion people, and this will require additional 72 million barrels of oil equivalent. MBOE will be the million barrels of oil equivalent per day of fossil fuel. It's a huge requirement because it's estimated that from 7.7 billion around present population will be we will become 9.5 billion by 2045. Then the fossil fuel share in overall energy basket is expected to come down from current 86% to 54% by 2050. This is largely made possible by turning from conventional fossil fuel resources to unconventional or completely hydrogen based or green energy type of thing. So this is one very nice area where actually a lot of progress is to be made in future by 2050. Then energy efficiency will be a very key driver, greater impact in limiting and offsetting demands in spite of growing population and economy. This is a fact which we have been observing through history. Energy efficiency, if you look at 100 years back, the rate of energy efficiency everywhere with the type of the resources which they were using and rate of efficiency today, there's a huge difference, and that is a very good driver for the industry, just promising a better environment, promising pollution free type of environment for the earth and green environment for the earth. Oil peak is supposedly believed to be passed in 2019, and gas to peak from the present 26% in the energy basket to 29% by 2032. These are certain uh, facts and drivers which are actually leading the global scenario. Now, the prime consumers and importers like US, Western Europe, India, and China will not be unifying in pricing, leaving it to the sellers to manipulate price to their benefit. This is exactly happening today, as you see after the Ukraine Russia war. The prime consumers, importers, US, Western Europe, India, and China. These everywhere they are just going in their own interest. They are not unified. That's why great price variation. So when the war was started, everything shot up very at a very high rate, the global crude oil prices, and then it eased out. It again went some $40 low, and again it is fluctuating every day. So what is happening that every major area, geographical area of the earth, whether it is the America, whether it is Western Europe, whether it is the giants like China or India, they are taking their own state geopolitical interests, and that's fair enough, because everybody has to take care of their own people's interest, and accordingly what will happen that the consumers and importers, they will some sort of, because of this disarray in their decision making, they will not be actually guiding the prices of the crude oil or the gas or the, if you say broadly, the energy to a certain some sort of a way that it is only either increasing or getting down. So it will always be fluctuating, it will be manipulated by different parameters and so on. So the role of oil as transportation fuel will slowly fade away due to the emergence of EVs, hydrogen and other green technologies. Unconventional resources globally expected to cross more than 63% by 2035, but India is lagging behind at 50%. It's a fact, because we intend to do it, but our things are slightly slower as compared to the uh, advanced countries. Crude oil to chemicals. This extra oil in the market is likely to be used in this emerging sector to some extent. This is actually a sunrise area, crude oil to chemicals, because say whatever resources, reserves, and production are there, they are at the moment not creating any sort of panic anywhere. The panic is only because of some situational political differences or war or something. But it's there, crude is there. But if crude is to be replaced by the green energy, EVs and hydrogen and other such type of non-polluting technologies, then where this crude is there, either crude has to fall in prices, or crude has to be a different way of utilization of crude has to be there. So this is a sunrise area where crude oil to chemicals is one of the areas which will come up in the future. And I'm very happy to share that many Indian giant companies in private sector, they are also already on this thing, that they are also planning their crude oil to change to chemicals, which are essential and not modern chemicals, which will be required in the future betterment of the society. So hence oil production will be there to cater to different needs of industry and derivatives production. Now, the solar, wind, and geothermal, these type of energies are expected to contribute around 12, 11, and 3.5% respectively by 2050. The green energy battery storage capacity will be really a good growth drivers in this industry. Then now oil and coal are getting to decline gradually from 16 to 9% from current level of 29 to 27% respectively by 2050. Now, the world has about 1734 billion barrels of oil and around 200 TCM of gas and 1070 BT of coal reserves. There is plenty of oil, gas, and coal as on date, and it is going to go for many years now. Now, another this green hydrogen, as I said, this is a green. This is really another sunrise area. What is green hydrogen? An electric current splits water into the hydrogen and oxygen, and both are environment-friendly gases, cleanest forms of energy, and ultimate solutions to achieve the net zero emissions. With the process, I have a plate which I will be showing that how the green hydrogen is created. There are the gray hydrogen as well as brown hydrogen also, which will be coming in the following plates. So associated with this energy and mostly the conventional energy elements like oil, coal, and gas, there is a lot of pollution problems also, environmental deterioration problems also, and accordingly there is a lot of halla gulla on the emission targets and whatnot. World over say, seminars and world over pressures are there on the industry. So in the latest Glasgow November 2021 meeting in Europe, global zero emission targets were spread from 2040 onwards, and India chose 2070 in that Glasgow meeting. I was just looking at one of the uh, pictures which I got from some in some group. In that, India is not really the culprit of pollution as compared to America or the Europe advanced countries. So actually, India is a very minuscule player actually in the greenhouse gas emission or say the pollution related issues. The major uh, contributors to that those are American, North American countries, Western European countries, and China as per the statistics available. So now the petroleum exploration activities, they are unlikely to get subdued as was largely thought of when the COVID started some 2.5 years back. Everything came to standstill. There was no demand. Consumers were missing world over, no demand of oil. And there was a time when the price of crude oil went into the minus. I'll be showing a plate to you. It's very interesting plate. Uh, a picture will come. And then, but still, since that time and now, you will see that exploration activities they continue world over. Of course, there is some sort of a apprehension that whether the pace of exploration is going to be the same way which it was going in last say about say 40 years or maybe 35 years, or it's getting subdued. So it's largely hoped that it's not going to be subdued, and the requirement will be the existing discoveries, development of discoveries, finding new places of pools of oil and gas, and the revision of the skill sets and specializations. So large quantities of producible oil with the Saudi, Iran, USA, Canada, Russia, and OPEC countries will be available to monetize in near future. You see, if you must, all of you must be reading a lot of information and reports in public media and a lot of websites, portals, that now already Middle East and advanced countries, they have already started thinking that what will happen after 2050 when the oil is, of course, the demand of oil is has to reduce. Accordingly, they have started planning their industry, their say in the energy basket, the share of different sorts of industries accordingly, and they are now going for the preferring the green energy as compared to the conventional, which will include the coal, oil, and gas. And USA and Canada will continue shale oil monetization and shale gas with huge investments in production technology and R&D. Actually, this shale oil and shale gas, this came up in a very big way in last 20-25 years, and USA and Canada were the leaders for this. In India also, we also tried a lot of shale oil and shale gas, but not to great success, I must say. Let us look few points in the Indian energy diaspora. So what is happening here? Fossil fuel contribution and resources. As I said, that coal, oil, and gas, they account for nearly 89% of our primary energy basket, and rest is from the renewables. Renewables, they include a lot of unconventional as well as the freely available like solar, wind, and tidal, and what sort of anything which you can generate uh, the energy. And the gas LNG import, coal will continue to be dominant in 2040. This indicates that the role of oil as compared to the gas is getting slightly lighter as compared to the gas and coal. Of course, as the coal initially, coal was replaced by the oil, crude oil, and now the gas is the some sort of area. Gas is the component which is slowly replacing the oil. So energy demand met by the importing around 87% of oil, 46% of gas, and 25% of the coal. Increasing the domestic production through regulatory reforms, FDIs and PSUs will be desired in these areas. So the hydrocarbon potential of Indian sedimentary basins will be progressing under the new licensing policies, NELP, HELP, OALP, which are actually brought out by the Directorate General of Hydrocarbons, DGH in Delhi. And about 30 billion tons of oil equivalent is yet to be upgraded to discovered category. We have a lot of prognosticated oil resources, oil and gas resources available. This is an area where geoscientists have to really make good effort, because this is all their domain where they have to make an effort. Now, let us see some of the selected indicators for India in at a gap of 10 years from 2000, 2010, and 2019. You see population, no big deal. Everybody knows that 2000 we had certain number, 2010 we have certain increase, and 2019 we have certain increase, and if you go to 2029, hopefully it is going just in a linear way. It is increasing every way. Population is one thing which is really the growth of which is very, very consistent in India. Then you see the GDP, there is a massive change from 2000 to 2019, and hopefully in another 10 years GDP will have another massive change to as the present government visualizes. Energy demand, same way, a very, very linear and very prominent change from the 2000 requirements, 2000 to 2010 and 2019. And if you see the components of the energy demand in million tons of equivalent, so it's still the coal, gas. You see, gas has increased, coal, oil, and gas all have increased. Traditional biomass will get reduced. Already it has reduced in 2019, and in another 10 years its share has to be reduced. Nuclear, of course, we all desire that it should increase, and renewables, it is also going to be more in next year. So India, as we know, it's home to the 18 to 20% of world's population. This is responsible for only 6.4% of the total global emission. As I earlier said, that we are not the culprits. We are much better as compared to America and Western Europe and many China and many other advanced economies which are rather uh, more, I think, prominent in the global emission. And the per capita emission is just 1.6 as against the 4.4 tons of global average. Government effort for capacity ramping up renewables on a continuous basis. from 134 gigawatt to 450 gigawatt by 2030. These are the things which are every day we are observing that tremendous progress is being made in our country. Our primary energy consumption with reference to the world will go up from current 6% to 12% by 2040 and to 18% by 2050. We will be adding 400 million people more with the rapid urbanizations. So this is very important because more and more of urbanization, more and more of adding of people in the country, that is directly fueling the demand of more energy, more and more energy in the country. So naturally, India has to find ways and India has to work hard to really get into the better energy scenario. Now we consume about 21 million barrels of oil equivalent per day, which is expected to increase to 40 by 2040, and again it has to be tripled like say 60 by 2050. Let's see this thing, the same thing in a graphical way. Uh, in 2000, 2010, 2019, and 2020, how the share of total primary energy demand has been. Coal is consistently increasing. The share of oil actually has slightly come down or almost equal. It has not increased much, but the if you go by the natural gas, it's also the same way. But the main difference or the main uh, difference has come in the traditional biomass, which has constantly getting reduced, and the conventional oil, conventional gas, or conventional coal, as well as searching for the modern renewables, that is constantly going up in the uh, and that shows that we are also progressing in the energy demand, primary energy demand, as the advanced world is also going. This another picture which is showing you the if in 10 years how the GDP per capita in our country has grown. If you look at it, that everywhere you will see the progress in GDP per capita in 2000 and in 2019. Tremendous progress, almost double. Energy demand per capita always increasing. Oil demand per capita always increasing. Coal demand per capita again increasing, but not to that extent as some of the other things. Residential energy use, it's not, it is also increasing. Steel and cement use increasing at a greater pace. Car ownership increasing at tremendous pace. And with all these energy increases, share increasing every in our country, naturally the CO2 emission per capita will also go up. It has gone up, and in further in next 10 years, it is again likely to go up at the same pace. So now what are the challenges in this scenario, in this energy scenario? So there is a first challenge is that we have a lot of dependence of oil as transportation fuel, and it's not very easy to just replace it in the energy basket by any other means. Of course, EVs, green hydrogen, and other green technologies, they are being sincerely worked by private sector, public sector, joint sector, and everybody is doing a lot of things. Conventional green batteries, lithium based, iron based, aluminum based with production problems there are, but still people are working, and hopefully in the present coming 10 years, this is going to really take a great share in the entire energy basket of the India. Then we have the problems that even if we develop EVs, even if we develop green batteries and all sorts of things, there is no infrastructure of charging stations and related things, because we need that type. Although, say, the conventional energy infrastructure is so nicely intact in India that you go anywhere, you find a diesel outlet or a or a petrol gas station where you can get. So that's very well established. For unconventional, for greener type of energy, we are going to having the challenge to establish that infrastructure. Then we are in a very big way, we have to go for the solar, wind, geothermal, tidal, and other types of alternative sources of energy. Then environmental issues are also related to that. Pollution control problems are there, climatic anomalies are there, everybody is feeling global warming, so on. So these issues are largely, I think, likely to be met by the greener energy rather than the conventional energy. And global zero emission targets, they have been spread from 2040 to 2070. As India is not a big contributor in global energy emissions, so it's pretty good for India to choose 2070 as the zero emission targets. Then green hydrogen is a friendly gas, cleanest form of energy, and it's believed to be ultimate solution to net zero emissions. And how it is produced, that's a process of electrolysis, and where nothing, no byproduct is harmful to the, supposed to be harmful as on date. Then we have a lot of challenges for hybrid technologies, because integration of multiple energy platforms, that will be very much suitable to India and countries like ours, where a lot of population is there, consumers are there, but they are not very rich consumers, they need something which is affordable. So affordable consumption, naturally some sort of hybrid technologies are required. Huge population is a fact, vis-a-vis resources. So what happens that all the say parameters, when you compare world over, you are always down because of your huge population vis-a-vis resource. Skills and growth parameters are a very big challenge which need to be looked into by the academia as well as the industry. And this is one area where really something great has to be done. Now look at this picture, which was in August 2020 when the COVID was there, and I got it from oilprice.com of 17th August, where it was said that hydrocarbon exploration and production was passing through this pandemic dilemma, and oil majors. This is all fact. They were hit hard. The strike took 25% production offline, many production exploration units were shut down, energy stocks sell off, huge sell off was there at all browsers all over world, including India. And petroleum geology and petroleum E&P was supposed to some sort of having a very dark future, and so on. Everybody was writing that now E&P, petroleum and petroleum geology, it will sink. Then every day commodity prices were cashing down. At one occasion, it became less than zero. That's a history in the pricing of crude oil. That it was available at minus 37 US dollar or so. So under that scenario, naturally everybody concerned with the industry and concerned with this type of energy basket, they were having a very big question in the mind, in the mind, that is this the beginning of end of the oil and gas exploration? Are we really just now set to complete and then say bye bye to the oil and gas exploration? But no. The answer was that no, hydrocarbon exploration is still having a lot of scope in India and world over, because the above represents are very temporary, and it will, in India at least, it is going to continue in the future too. So from this very dismal scenario, where a lot of newspaper reports were coming, magazine reports were coming, that India's ONGC, biggest producer of oil and gas, biggest exploration and production company, this is grappling with the existential crisis. Yes, of course, we also thought that, of course, whether it is the closer time for very huge industries, and whatever, everybody was happy. There is a fact that if you see here, that if you go to the grand total of production in the last, say, 15, 16 to up to 2021, there is a steady decline of production. This is actually because ONGC is also very old company. It's about say 60 years, and most of its producing fields and areas, they are now mature. They're not producing with that, so it's very difficult for the company to really cope up with an increased production. So all these figures, whatever you say, they are breakups of the offshore, they are breakups of the on land areas where ONGC is producing. And ultimately, but the crux is that constantly the production, total production or entire production of the country is going down. Under such scenario, how long can you really afford to run the show in India? And it's really, as Dr. Chatterjee initially was also mentioning, that it's really becoming very much uh, say some sort of pressing on the exchequer, because a lot of foreign exchange is getting out. And from say 70%, now we are importing 80%, or maybe around say 79% of the crude oil for our purpose. There's one more culprit here. If you see these data along with the consumption data in the India, consumption is increasing at many folds as compared to the downfall whatever we see in the production. So there is, in my opinion, there has to be something which should be done on the consumption phase also, because if we control consumption of oil and gas, really we can sustain for in a better way. There's another say some data from the our annual report, where of course the reserve accretion is very good, and reserve accretion and the company operated as well as JV, they have shown some positive signs, but still the reserves and the contingent resources and converting those reserves to producible crude oil, which is actually marketed and actually sold to the consumers, is really a very big question, very big area which needs some sort of serious thought. Now, this is another scenario. You saw one scenario where because of COVID, the thing was there that, and here the war started, Ukraine and Russia war started, and this graph on the right side, if you say Brent crude oil prices, this is the situation, which is the COVID-19 situation where the war is, the peak of the COVID-19. So it has gone down to some sort of a $20, and then further down, those things are not plotted here, to even minus 37 on one day. And now the war started at this point, and the look at the price of the crude oil, same way constantly increasing, and it went to $100, near about $100, and further on it has gone in this area to $140 or so. Now in the last 1 month, you would have seen that every day, if you watch the uh, this thing, your financial news or business news, you will be really confused that in the morning there is some price, in afternoon there is another price, and in the evening there is another price. So much of fluctuation, so much of variability, that it's very difficult to cope up with. But the thing is, this was a dismal scenario when the crude price was down to even zero and below levels. So they said that there is no need of any geology, any need of some sort of exploration and production. What exploration production will do when there are no consumers, and the ships laden with crude oil and gas, they are just stranded in on the seas. But you see, look at this situation, and further on, when it again went to $140, again the importance of the crude oil, again the importance of gas, again the importance of studies related to this, that is the geoscience, everything comes back. So this geopolitics of March 2022, this indicates where we COVID situation some 2.5 years back, when it was dismal, and now it is again very positive. So let us see some how the upstream, midstream, downstream sectors they operate in India. So I'll go quickly. Upstream in India, we have three major sectors. Upstream is generally referred to exploration and production, that is E&P. This includes searching of the potential underground and underwater crude oil and gas, drilling and operation of the exploratory wells, and highest numbers of mergers, acquisitions, and divestments. Then there is a midstream, which is the logistic facilities and services, which include the transportation, pipelines, rails by any means, and production sites to refineries, storage, wholesale marketing of crude, refined petroleum products, natural gas networks, pipeline networks, and midstream also includes some infringement on both these downstream and upstream sectors. If you go to the downstream, mainly it is the refining and marketing. What is the governance of energy sector in the central government? The broad structure, I will just explain here, that there is a ministry, and the ministry has certain regulators, DGC, DGH, PCRA, etc. And then below them are the national oil companies, including ONGC oil. Then there are private players like Reliance, L&T, KN, Vedanta, and so on. There are multinational companies, Aramco, Shell, ExxonMobil, etc. Indian companies, HOEC, Petronet, LNG, Tata Petrotyne, and so many. Then there are joint ventures, which are a combination of all these things. And then the marketers and distributors like IOC, HPCL, BPCL. This is a broad structure and framework of oil and gas energy basket in India. Now, let us see how studying geoscience, paleontology, and how relevant is it in the present context, and what is the interdependence of geological laboratory studies in mineral and hydrocarbon exploration. So, what are geology? Geoscientific laboratory investigations. This is earlier, it used to be very primitive type of laboratory studies. Now it is based on the high-end workstation based interpretations. It is more of the interpretation, multidisciplinary, synergistic, and domain specific research. Oil exploration development has the requirement is precision, time, and quality for the cost competitiveness. Then technological advancements in lab domains is what we have seen is more towards the hardware and software and machination rather than the processes and techniques. Still, we require human resource, which really decides within the labs that what is what, and what is useful in stratigraphy, what is useful in sedimentology, what is useful in geochronology, what is useful in remote sensing, and how to integrate everything to make a nice picture or nice effort for hydrocarbon exploration, or for that matter, mineral exploration also. And a lot of see all the sedimentology, biostratigraphy, chemostratigraphy is one big area which is coming up and which is getting integrated into the geoscience laboratories to really contribute to the betterment of the geoscientific investigations as regards the oil and hydrocarbon business. So a higher level integration with reservoir microphases, high impact biostratigraphic zonation, use of wireline logs, high resolution seismic and sequence biostratigraphic models to build up basinal models. They are actually being conducted and they are the need of the hours. So let us understand that we are not going to simply work on the fundamental or the basic sedimentology, basic paleontology, basic remote sensing, or basic some sort of seismic, basic oil. Everything has to be integrated in synergistic way, and once you integrate it in synergistic way, then you can really find the difficult oil and really you can go for the development of the existing fields. In unconventional laboratories also, shale gas potential is there. We are also working in India. There are Gondwana, tertiary coals, assessment of depot centers of BCG tight gas, CBMs in Kembe Basin, in KG Basin, and of course in Gondwana rocks also. Gas hydrate exploratory research some 3-5 years back, it is a very sunrise area. It was being worked under the NGHP programs, and I hope that because already we have done a lot of exploration part, but still exploitation is difficult for gas hydrate. So we are working on those areas. Now, how these geology lab different particles they get integrated? We have the basic sedimentology, the basic remote sensing and geomatics, geochronology and fission track, and the biostratigraphy, which is the actually the paleontology and paleontology. We'll look into this one by one slightly. So, how the sedimentology goes? We have defined some subverticals where we have defined the workflows, how to go for it, and then accordingly, high frequency clastic sequence stratigraphy, process induced sedimentation modeling, carbonate sequence stratigraphy for each reservoir, each and every facies identification, then process identification for pre-rift, syn-rift, and passive margin type of setups. What type of deliverables and results we are expecting from this? We are expecting depositional models. We are expecting mineralogy and textural attributes. We are expecting core studies where we can see the different layers of porous and non-porous rocks. We're looking at the fractures, and these fractures analysis in the reservoir, that's the key to the production, for the production and exploitation of oil and gas. And then what are the diagenic imprints, what is the sequence stratigraphy at a final level, fifth and sixth order, because the broader level sequence stratigraphy will have more role of the paleontology and palynology. But once you go to the fifth and sixth order, you must have the sedimentological input. And so on, the dispersal, sediment dispersal maps, regional maps, which help you out in locating the nice locales for the exploration. Then we have the biostratigraphy, which includes foraminiferal biochronal stratigraphy, nanofossil, paleonofloral, and reconstruction of paleogeographic and paleobathymetry, paleoenvironmental modeling, etc. Here also we have defined the workflow, and actually the workflow has to be defined everywhere at each work center. This is what I am showing you is the workflow which has been defined in the industry and prime industry, which was this was done by us in ONGC. That this way we should work, we should be very systematic, ultimately to reach the goal of the company. What are the deliverables by the biostratigraphy? This is the dating. First is the dating, second is the paleobathymetry, age and interpretation of fluvial and near coastal environment by spores pollen, then precise dating of deeper water sediments, because there was a lot of emphasis on now going deeper in the deeper water locales where we are expecting large hydrocarbon pools which are still unexplored. So the calculus nanofossils, they help. Then different types of in the different paleo-environmental setups, some of the parameters, some of the components of the biostratigraphy, they are very useful like that. And the demarcation of a span of hiatuses and the unconformities, they're very useful in the basin modeling, and ultimately coming to the conclusion that where the oil and or the reservoir facies they exist. Same way, remote sensing and geomatics, they were microwave based for the structural analysis, hypersectoral remote sensing and micro seepages for pre-drill prospectivity, and GIS based for tectonic reconstruction at basinal level and regional level. I'll not go into get into the details, but these things are some of the parts of the geosciences which are actually providing a lot of impetus to the current scenario of the oil and gas or the conventional energy sector. What deliverables we get is fracture patterns, lineaments, fault mappings, and the delineation of buried structures, stress analysis, tectonic reconstruction, and seepage detection, both in offshore and onshore. Once this data is integrated in the basin analysis, that provides a lot of workable areas where we can go for drilling of new oil pools. Same way, geochronology and fission track, where the conventional dating we do from the paleontology and palynology. In the fossiliferous rocks, where we don't have fossils, we can get into by the rubidium strontium type of dating, SMND dating, argon dating or potassium argon dating, and then one of the major analysis of major and trace elements, rare earth elements with the help of geochemical investigations. And combining all these data, we really come to the absolute dating of igneous and metamorphic rocks, genetic classification, characterization of basalts and intrusives for some sort of a stratigraphic check, then correlation of orogenic events, marine carbonates, dating of marine carbonates, and reconstruction of thermal history, which is one essential part of the basin modeling. So, how can geoscience help in the energy transition? The noisy answers, some suggestions we can make. Skill development is first of all very important. Applied geosciences, specialization in hydrocarbon and mineral exploration and mining, that is the key areas which should be looked into. Then use of artificial intelligence, digitization, latest technology, softwares, everything. And geoscientists, exploration geoscientists should develop conventional and unconventional resources and renewables on fast track. Now, so that as I said in the first few slides, the time is very important in the industry. Whether it is conventional, unconventional, or the green technologies, what we are talking, timing and time or fast tracking is very important because world is really now moving at a very fast pace. Tapping shale oil, shale gas, tight gas, basin centered gas, shallow gas. All these things we are doing in India also as well as world over. So it has a great potential from going up to the 2,100 TCF of gas and 87 billion barrels of oil per day. That's a huge amount. If this comes really the control of the prices of crude oil, or the rather, I should not say the price of crude oil, I should say the price of the energy, because now we have so many types of energy and every energy component is priced separately and depends on the supply and demand type of the simple economics, the supply and demand. Then we have to make concerted effort to add resources from marine shales of Indian sedimentary basins and fluvial Gondwana shales. Then exploitation of gas hydrates. As I said, that the discoveries are made in India and whatever. So, but exploitation is very difficult. So the leaders in here are Canada, Japan, and I think perhaps North Sea, some countries in the consortium in the North Sea. Then we have to go for the hybrid plays and better reservoir management and better production technology. Then cutting production costs, better break-even prices where we don't spend much, rather we spend less and earn earn a greater profit. Then commercial sustainability in the international market vis crude oil prices, and then the sunrise area of crude to chemicals. If you have excess crude, you can really derive chemicals which are, as on date, we do not realize the potential of those chemicals, but which will be realized the actual potential and use of those chemicals will be very much evident in coming years. Then infrastructure building for unconventional and renewables, which is a very large area, very great area, and for more particularly for our country, because our country, this is just in the beginning. In advanced countries today you can buy Tesla, but where Tesla car, but in India I don't think you can run it, because where you will charge, where you will get all those things. So those infrastructure building are very important. Then I was reading one article by John Underhill. He has spoken about the geoscientists for the energy transition. He maintains he's from Edinburgh, Harriet Watt University. He is of the opinion that industrial revolution fueled by coal and then by oil and gas, and now it has both these things, they brought to betterment in the quality of life, but at the cost of creating a carbon intensive economy. That's a fact. But now the importance of geoscience research and training to decarbonize and reduce greenhouse emissions and tackle climate changes, this is going to be sunrise areas and the things which the present generation, present students, and present scientists and researchers, they have to really look into. And geoscience will definitely, it is going to help the sustainability goals and can deliver on these commitments. This is a very, very promising observation, because once you were only in the first part of industrial revolution, what geoscientists did was they produced a commodity, and the commodity was sold. The geoscientists were really, they were applauded. But that commodity, that is the oil and gas or coal mining, that led to a some sort of a different problem, which was environmental problem for global, at the global level. Now again, geoscientists, he says that they can be useful to deliver, to really counter those type of problems which have been created by the first phase. So how geoscience is going to help to decarbonize electricity sector with renewable sources, superseding coal. So he says that coal and all conventional, including the crude oil, they should be reduced, and hybrid and battery power should be, and this will come up. So this is going to reduce some sort of carbon, this intensive economy. Then increased demand of minerals and rare earth elements for the batteries to store energy, solar panels, wind turbines. We require certain type of critical elements, metals, minerals, lithium and other rare earths for going into the unconventional or the renewable sources of the energy. And for this, again, the requirement of geoscientists is there, because a lot of mining, exploration, mineral exploration is going to help in this sort. So he has put this thing, one, the type of divided the type of the hydrogens to three types: that green hydrogen, blue hydrogen and gray hydrogen. The gray is of course the traditional one. This is the most polluting. Here the blue is slightly better one, but the target is the green hydrogen, which is actually the target for the all the advanced countries as well as for the globe. So how the green hydrogen is produced? The renewable energy is created using solar and wind powers. This is very safe energy, no pollution, no carbonization. Then the power feeds into system, and in the process of electrolysis, it changes H2O to O2 and H2. Both are very inert gases, which both are not harmful gases. And these hydrogen, the hydrogen taken out from here is stored, liquefied and stored, compressed, and that is being used, that is shipped and being used as fuel. So this is one sort of plot which really tells that how green hydrogen can be produced and how it can be used without any sort of carbon increase, and rather it is going to decarbonize. So how the last thing now, the how the multi-micro fossil and paleontology is going to help out in this. We all know that fossils are the basis for biostratigraphy, paleontology, and now we know that there are two types of fossils: vertebrate, invertebrate in the animal realm, and plant fossils. All are used in the geological time scale, and all are actually occurring all over this geological time scale, right from Precambrian to the present day. They are differently utilized by different specialists. And then in the energy sector, in the hydrocarbon or mineral exploration sector, we have been using microfossils for oil exploration because of their tiny sizes, great abundance, and they occur well preserved in the rock fragments by the drilling, and they can be brought out by the drilling. And so what are the component, what are the leads they are providing? That biostratigraphy, then modern biochronostratigraphy, which is actually integration of chronometric dating, magnetostratigraphy, biochronostratigraphy, and sequence stratigraphy. And one very big plus point for this is that this is absolutely low cost discipline to give date or age. There is not much of machination also in this. No great software which can tell you. So here the role of geoscientist comes, a paleontologist comes, a researcher in paleontology or biostratigraphy comes, who once develops his skills, develops his specialization, becomes an integral part of this journey. So, as we all know that foraminifera, nanofossils, Pelinoploida groups, and Osteopoda, they are being used in the oil industry to a great extent, and they are utilized by the oil industry for different types of conclusions or other interpretations. This is a picture which shows you some of the foraminifera. You see, these are foraminifera. This is also called larger foraminifera. These are foraminiferal structures. This is spores. This is the pollens. This is dinoflagellate cysts, nanofossils, and acritarchs. Besides these, there are many other groups which can be really used in a better way for the stratigraphy. This is another example of some calcareous nanofossils which are very precise and very nicely used in dating the in the finer division of the stratigraphy. Like this is one group of forms which are called as referred to as Osteopoda, and they are used for the fluvial, mostly for the fluvial and very shallow type of deposits. So this also gives you some sort of a scope for getting into the very shallow deposits where very shallow sediments where we can explore shallow gas and other types of uh, hydrocarbons. In floral entities, we have a long list of things like spore pollens, dinoflagellates, acritarchs, diatoms, silicoflagellates, nanofossils, calcareous algae, titanozoa, fungi, organic matter studies, and applications of floral entities or the faunal entities. They are almost same, bringing out some sort of finer divisions in the stratigraphy, finer divisions in the environment, and finer divisions in the climatic industries, and of course palynology helps in the climate control and climate interpretation things also. So support in the petroleum exploration is provided by these points: determination of geological ages, biochronostratigraphic correlation of basin analysis, and then recognition of hiatus and unconformities in the basin in a sedimentary sequence, depositional environments which are very must to know that what type of environment was there when my sediment, a reservoir, a source rock, or a trap rock was formed. Then paleobathymetric estimations, reconstruction of paleogeography at local or regional or basinal level, and finally the sequence stratigraphic determinations, which is actually integration of all types of informations including biostratigraphy, sedimentology, logs, and the seismics. Some of the examples I am showing: taxon ranges and biozones, which are conventionally done in the biostratigraphy or paleontology. This is some outputs where now in this output, what we have done is we do is that we are integrating with the wildline logs, we are integrating with even the seismic, and we are integrating with paleoecology, we are integrating with sequence stratigraphy, and then putting everything together in one picture to really precisely tell that which area we should go for the hydrocarbon exploration. This is another example of foraminifera being used in the along with the electrologs or wireline logs to demarcate very thin zones, shallow benthic zones within a not a very not a very thick sequence, and they are actually how your reservoirs or how your source rocks are behaving in the basin to know about them. And this helps in actually planning the drilling, actually to what depth, to what level, in what type of formation. This is example of the some sort of a standard multi-microfossil biozonation at the basinal scale. This is actually east coast of India where this work was done in the KG basin. So there are a number of wells were studied, and then accordingly they were subdivided by the different criteria like this. Whatever these different colors are, they are actually different fossil groups which were utilized, correlated along with as per the say contemporary to the geological time scale, and then these zones were plotted here, and in each individual layers, in each individual wells, all the sediments they were correlated, and then a final picture, regional picture for the purpose of drilling, for the purpose of finalizing the locales for exploration that is being presented. And these are the works which are essentially laboratory works, which are essentially biostratigraphy, paleontology works, which are not going to be substituted by any other means, and they are going to last for many years, many, maybe another 50 years to 100 years. So this cannot be done by any other process. So long our basket, energy basket is there, where crude oil, gas, and coal is there. So it is going to be very encouraging and safe for the future geoscientists. Same way paleogeography and paleodepositional model at the regional scale. This example is from the Mahanadi Basin, where the paleo temperature, anoxic events were also plotted to ultimately point out the locales for exploratory drilling. Another example with the paleo-environmental modeling, paleonofacies modeling, and the source rock modeling. This one particularly is the source rock modeling, where you have the yellow is depicting the poor source rock, and whereas the red is depicting actually the best source rocks possible. So what you are going to, if you are estimating in this area, this is a very good source rock area, but yellow is the best reservoir area. If you drill here, you have more chances of getting oil, and such type of actually information this gives a lot of scope. Now world over, such type of now courses and thoughts are going on. The Chrono Surveys, this is a company which is actually in US. They are also conducting a lot of workshops by biostratigraphy applied to oil and gas industry. This workshop I conducted here in 2 years back, just before COVID. In this, I also tried to say that how applied biostratigraphy can be really some sort of a very key driver and useful driver in mineral and hydrocarbon exploration. So summing up, if we can say that from Renaissance stage to modern day, we have to actually, one thing we have to understand, that geoscience is not going to lose any sort of its importance, and paleontology or biostratigraphy is continuing to be important. Only thing is, now we have to change our approach from a single point working to a multidisciplinary, synergistic, and domain specific type of research, because oil exploration and development requires precision, time, and quality for cost competitiveness. Cost is the, because in industry, the pricing of the things, pricing of the product, and the cost of your operations is very important. So like this, all these things, all these sedimentology, biostratigraphy, chemostratigraphy, remote sensing, geochronology, they are all getting into, they are not going to fade away. They are going to really go ahead as they were contributing, but now with a better sort of enthusiasm. So scale and speed of transition from traditional fossil fuels, and like oil and gas, is governed by commercial competitiveness of solar, hydrogen, and wind. Still we feel that even today's EV market, you see, EVs are coming out, but they're not successful. There are problems coming. You cannot really today just transform a petrol driven vehicle or a diesel driven vehicle to EV. Every day we are hearing problems, so that will need time. So we still have a lot of scope for the traditional fuels or the conventional fuels. Then the common perception is that geoscience will take a big hit. It has taken some sort of hit, has taken in the general mind, because nowadays everybody is educated. They have taken in mind, and everywhere they have felt that geoscience has to slightly, but if you go on changing with the environment, if you go for the new things, then of course in renewable sector also, they are also you're going to maintain your importance. And then this appears to be a temporary phase, and this will, geoscience has to remain as active energy contributor in the entire energy basket in future. So what is needed is to develop very high level specialization and skill sets to effectively remain through this transition. Now, geoscience, whether really existential threat or opportunity, I look it at the opportunity. So, critical role of geoscience is coming in now in low carbon future. Then, accordingly, our degree programs, academic degree programs, student numbers, everything has to change. Of course, presently there is a sharp decline in the Western world on these aspects, but now they are changing the scope of the geoscience. So they are also getting into the problems uh, which will be in future, and they need to be uh, looked into. So the solutions will come from geoscience, and then at least in India, still the recruitment data is not very bad. Whereas in America and European countries, there is much more awareness of the role of geoscience and in the low carbon future. So there are still some layoffs were there, and in UK, the Geological Society of London articulated geoscience's role in key global challenges, and this includes the role career paths of UN sustainability goals to make energy transition a reality. So they are putting now geoscience studies into several things which are emerging now in the modern world, and then they are accordingly changing their syllabus, they are accordingly getting prepared their students for future of the future things which have to come in the geoscience. So this one is the last one, last slide. I saw this. This was very interesting. That train PhD students to thinkers, not just specialists. What is happening? And she writes that put the philosophy back into the doctorate of philosophy. This is very true for India also. Now, the author says that we should not just produce churn out students as some sort of MTech, MSc, and PhD students. The philosophy, if you are PhD, the philosophy of the are the thinkers have to develop in PhD. And this one is a very nice thing. The art of knowing is knowing what to ignore. If you look at these two gentlemen, what he is drawing. He is looking, he is having a very short vision. He is looking at this only. He is drawing this. This person is a visionary. He is just ignoring this grill, and he is looking beyond what is the best future. So this is my last say. I thank you all of you for patient listening to this, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful talk. Sir has given very in-depth knowledge and information on the future of oil and gas industry, especially the geoscientific community, how the scope is there in future. So, sir has also explained that in the oil sector, no, it has got a bright future at least for 50 to 100 years, coming 150 to 100 years. He has also rightly mentioned that no, the scope of geosciences, in fact, no, it is still there, and it is look into the different perspective, different angle. We need to. He has suggested that we need to look into the probably multidisciplinary studies approach. So, such kind of very important and informative information was provided by Dr. Sudhir Shukla in his today's very excellent talk. So now with this, no, the session is open for the questions and answers. So I would like to request. So I thank Shukla sir for his wonderful talk, and now I request
Thank
the
you very much.
participants to kindly ask the questions with doubts. Abhishek.
It's actually most of the things which were coming across in last 2.5 years, seeing all the some sort of a turmoil all over world in
Right.
this energy sector, and it's still continuing. And the funniest thing was that once the turmoil was at dismal level when the COVID started, and once the turmoil again, importance became of crude oil and gas once the Ukraine and Russia war started. Again, $140. So $140 means again, let's say industry flourishes.
Right.
So this is such type of irony, and geoscientists, in my opinion, they should really not be disheartened
And
with.
no, sir, I have one question. No, I think in the protozoics also now there is a good scope in future. No? Protozoic basins. So recently, one news was there that from Vindhyan,
Yes.
the gas
Oh
is.
yes. Oh yes. Vindhyan, we have got good gas deposits in MP, and as I said, that gas is becoming more important as compared to
Oil.
crude oil, because it is easier to exploit gas. Production technology for gas is rather less cost intensive. We in the industry, we were always having in the back of our mind, always having some sort of concern for the cost, because when you do business, you are always concerned with the cost कि कितना आप खर्च कर रहे हो, कितना आपको profit होने वाला है, how much you are going to really get out of this all endeavor. So that factor is that's the difference. If you, when you talk to the industry people, you'll find that they always talk in terms of economics as compared to the academicians. Academics, they talk only in the sense of research, only in terms of. So
Right.
that's the difference.
So I request participants if you
Bhuvnesh
have any
sir, I
doubts.
have one
So please.
question small.
Yes, sir. Please ask.
Please.
Please ask.
Shukla sir, good evening sir.
Good evening.
So this is non-technical questions, not related to the geology.
Hmm.
Just is about like petroleum, the fuel in Nagpur is like 120 per liter, sir.
Hmm.
So my question is, how long the prices will be going, and will it come like 100 rupees per liter? Will it in future, in coming?
Oh, actually, Mr. Bujang, this is completely out of my purview. And if I don't know whether you saw yesterday's on some channel, news channel, they were very elaborately they were showing. I think
Okay.
yesterday our Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, spoke on this, that the central VAT and GST duties and the state VATs. There was a big meeting, so they
Okay.
have elaborated how the pricing is done. The
Okay,
price
sir.
which you and me pay for our petrol
Exactly.
in trunk, that depends on three four things. First is the
Okay.
basic production price by the
Okay.
refinery, and
Okay.
then there are a lot of taxes, which are the taxes are put by the central government, taxes are put
Okay.
by the state governments,
State government. Right.
purely. So all those things, and then surcharges, and then VAT,
জমা
and
পয়েন্টটা
then
ঠিক আছে
and all. So
Okay.
accordingly, then they decide the
এই যে
price.
সেটটা
So that's
Okay.
actually a very very political question, and it's completely out of my purview.
Right,
Sir,
right. So
sir,
that's why I spoke like it's non-technical because I know the thing, sir.
No,
Okay,
you're
thank you, sir.
perfectly
Thank you
all
very much.
right. But
thank
স্যার
you, sir.
may I
Thank you,
come
sir.
in sir
yeah,
Yes,
please.
sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Roy,
you
sir.
very much. Thank you.
Sudhir
Sandeep
sir,
ji. Huh?
this is Sandeep here.
Yes, sir.
Can you throw some light, like nowadays, like Geological Survey of India is trying to go below Deccan. Now, this is something like we are trying for that knowledge type, Siberian knowledge type platinum nickel deposit. They also have a Siberian trap, and we have below sediments for that. But we have hidden Gondwanas beneath the Deccan traps.
Yes.
So, what's your take? Like ONGC is already into it, or there is a plan for?
Sir, actually, there were a lot of investigations on below trap, and ONGC, to my knowledge, they were trying to image below Deccan trap. It's very difficult. Seismic imaging is very difficult because of thick Deccan trap. But I firmly believe that what you have mentioned is that there is a mineral in the mineral exploration. There is a huge scope below trap. You already said that you have got certain minerals, and this mineral exploration, which is GSI and others, say like you have the Mineral Exploration Corporation and all other agencies, which are actually geoscience are the back geoscientists are the backbones for those agencies. For them, it is a very very sunrise area. It is going to really contribute lot of economy to the country, because once you would have seen that once we go for the some sort of renewable sources, or some sort of unconventional type of energy sources, we require such minerals. We require rare earths. We require lithium. We require so many things which are actually in the domain of GSI and such mining companies, mining organizations. And there is a lot of scope, in my opinion, for those people to really economize those things, to exploit and then contribute for the nation's.
That's true, sir. Because if you see our recent programs for last 5 years, our
Yes,
focus has actually shifted from this traditional limestone bauxite or notified minerals to strategic rare earths and
exactly.
the green energy related minerals. And most about 50% of our projects, 100 projects per year, I think it has shifted. There is a
That's
paradigm shift in that.
yes, that's wonderful.
Already a paradigm shift, and we are aware of it. And like one thing I would like to know, just one thing: do ONGC have those DSRS image of the Deccan traps already? If they've done exploration, and that is of
Yes,
interest to us.
yes, to my knowledge, actually, I'm 4 years out from ONGC now.
Mm-hmm.
But to my knowledge, that time I was listening in the meeting that they have done images, and you can, if you talk to either the institute or the
Or
region,
DGH.
huh, or the DGH. Yes, now see, all data has to go to DGH, and you can get from DGH also.
That will be
This is
interesting.
imaging done, and
Mhm.
those images can be really used for both for the hydrocarbon as well as for the
Exploration.
actually hydrocarbon is also a mineral, but
Yeah.
hydrocarbon was given a separate entity in the form of oil companies because of its being a different nature. Otherwise we are the same thing, mineral part only. So the rare earth and whatever, so more important minerals which you are speaking, those can also be taken from those type of
Thank you, sir. Thank you. That's all from my side. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Sir, there is one question in chat box. I think we will take up that question. Sir, what is about Krishna Godavari River Basin? In future, any exploration activities are going to happen there? This is the question asked
Yes,
in chat
Vicky
box.
Geo. What is about Krishna Godavari River Basin? Actually, Krishna Godavari Basin, lot of activities are going on, and it's a very now promising and producing basin. It's one of the very important producing basin where we are producing from exploring and producing both from the on land as well as from the offshore, and huge productions are coming. If this gentleman, he can recall that even the private partners like private companies like Reliance and Aramco and I think BP and so many small partners like HOEC and all, they all have interests in these offshore basins. They are getting huge types of pools. The thing is, exploration is one thing where you establish resources, but then actually bringing resources to the surface, producing them, and then finally selling it to the, or rather consuming by the general public at large like us, that becomes another area of activity.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there any question? Anyone wants to ask question from participants?
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Abhishek, go ahead.
Sir, actually, what the update about the ninth basin that when this is just started exploring?
That's the Vindhyan Basin,
Yes,
and
sir.
I also read from the news reports only there is a good find of gas in some structure from the Son Valley area, and that's a good production rate was also very good. So we are now hopeful. This is after Bengal discovery. Bengal, we got Ashoknagar discovery where it was the oil, and now this is a gas discovery. If you recall that frontier basin basins, rather frontier basins, you have more scope of the gas rather than the oil. And frontier basins include whole of the Ganga Valley, Punjab Basin, Satpura, and even part of the Deccan Senegalese, and of course Son Basin, Narmada, and all, mostly the landlocked areas. And those basins are having the formations which are older, Proterozoic or Precambrian, or maybe the Paleozoic formations. So there you have more chances of gas, and this is very good that at least in this Vindhyan basin now ONGC has struck gas.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I think there are no questions now. Siddhartha, he has asked the same question. Can you comment on recent discoveries in Indians? Already you spoke about. So, if there are no questions, then
Yeah.
thank you very much, sir, for your valuable time.
Thank you.
Now, sparing your valuable time and discussing the detail about the oil and gas industry with respect to current scenario. So before we end the session, I would like to request Dr. Samaya Humne to kindly propose vote of thanks.
Once again, I would like to thank Dr. Sudhir Shukla sir for sharing his precious time with us. He almost spent 1 hour and 40 minutes with us. So it's a great pleasure for all of us to listen to you, sir. I have been listening to your talks every now and then, and but the specialty is that every talk is new to me. It never appears that I am listening to the same talk which you have presented already. So it is biggest talent of yours that you always present something new in it with the new
Thank you so
vision.
much.
And I don't know from where you make this, but it is really a talent which I need to learn from you. And many things you have told and told in your talk, correlating the present with the past, and it the new thing again is that you try to tell to cover each and every subject or the sub subjects of geology and how they are applied for the hydrocarbon research, and if not hydrocarbon research it would be for the green energy source, which now we can say that we are in transition state, but it is not going to be means jumped upon right now. It may take 30 years or 50 years. After
Yes.
that only we can be able to go for the green energy source. Till then, our students need not have to worry. They can make their career in ONGC, and not only ONGC, they can make their career in GSI also, and each and every subject of geology, right from sedimentology or geochemistry or microfossil studies or paleontology, each subject have their own role in hydrocarbon exploration, uh, and you have presented it very well, sir. That's why I like to thank you very much from bottom of my heart on behalf of Gondwana Geological Society and my personal behalf also. And I also like to thank Dr. Anjan Chatterjee, sir, uh, for allowing us to keep your talk on from the platform of Gondwana Geological Society. And I like to thank many eminent scientists and faculties of Department of Geology who joined this talk. I especially like to thank Manjre sir, Murkute sir, Khandare sir, um, then Sarolkar sir, and Parcha sir also joined us. Then
Kumar Sahab, Dr.
uh,
Kumar, V. Kumar,
uh,
Professor V. Kumar.
Dr. Kumar also joined at some time for some time, and then I like to thank all the students who have joined to listen to your talk. I like to thank Dr. Sandeep Roy for his active participation and listening to the talk. Overall, I like to thank Dr. Sumed Humne for arranging this by communicating with you. So I like to thank each and everyone for sparing their valuable time with us. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. I only
Thank,
summarize
thank,
across
thank,
whatever come to my
Thank you, sir.
mind, and some prompts which are I listen from somewhere. Then accordingly, I start thinking and preparing something. Thank you so much
Our
for this.
President sir wants
Thank
to
you,
say
sir.
something.
thank you. Thank you, Shukla sir, for covering such a huge topic in with so many so many facets of the energy scenario for covering almost every aspect. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Shukla sir, nice
Okay,
to
bye
see you.
bye.
See
Thank
you
you.
soon. Bye bye. Bye.
हो गया